Did you know in the movie Jurassic World Rebirth, they actually filmed this movie in Thailand and there were poisonous snakes and poisonous mushrooms around the cast while they were filming in the jungle? We actually got this information directly from actor Belchier Sylvain, who plays the role of Leclerc in the movie. Welcome back everyone to the Did You Know Movie Show with Devin and my co-host Billy. How are you doing today, Billy?
Thanks for having me on the show. It's great to be in person.
So me and Billy got to go to the Jurassic World Rebirth premiere in New York City. So we're going to be talking about the movie, giving some fun facts about the film as well, and giving our overall analysis of the entire film. Let's get started. Billy is going to give the synopsis provided by Jurassic World for what you could expect in the movie.
5 years after the events of Jurassic World Dominion, the planet's ecology has proven largely inhospitable to the dinosaurs. Those remaining exist in isolated equatorial environments with climates resembling the one in which they once thrived. The three most colossal creatures across the land, sea, and air within that tropical biosphere hold in their DNA the key to a drug that will bring miraculous life-saving benefits to humankind.
To start off, there will not be any major spoilers in the video, but we will give some spoilers, but we will let you guys know when that happens. So Billy, what is your official rating of this movie out of 10?
My official rating of Jurassic World Rebirth out of 10 would be an 8 out of 10. I thought it was an incredible film. I'm a big fan of the original Jurassic Park and also the Jurassic World movies, and it was just such a cool experience to be able to attend the movie premiere in New York City. I thought that this specific film was my third favorite in the Jurassic Park franchise. I still really enjoy the originals, and I would definitely recommend this in theaters.
Now, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I had an incredible experience at the premiere. It was awesome to go to the carpet, and we will be talking about the premiere a little more in depth later on in this video, but I would give it a 7 out of 10. It was, to me, a little bit above average, but nothing I haven't seen before in other movies, but the main thing that I loved the most in this movie was, of course, the dinosaurs, and we're going to be talking more about it. Now, the reason why I gave this movie a 7 is because I just did not feel that emotionally connected to any of the characters. What about you, Billy?
So, I was kind of the opposite. I felt pretty emotionally connected to some of the characters, especially the scientist and the paleontologist who was a part of the film. I thought that Jonathan Bailey had a fantastic performance, and it was just incredible to see another Jurassic Park movie, or Jurassic World movie, I should say, especially because it had a really unique vibe. I thought it brought back a lot of the nostalgia I used to have for the original movies, so I was impressed. I thought, for what it was a cool film. It definitely a fun summer film for the family, and yeah, it was fun. What's
interesting is that Scarlett Johansson was the lead of this movie, but in my opinion, Jonathan Bailey was the lead. I felt way more connected to his character. He was a researcher at a museum who just loved dinosaurs and was one of the few people who actually cared about their well-being. So he was probably the one character that I was emotionally connected with, which is interesting because he wasn't the lead.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. I personally thought Scarlett Johansson had a fantastic performance as well, and I thought that Scarlett was a great lead. So I kind of sort of I don't disagree with Devin, but I have a unique viewpoint, and I thought the Jurassic Park, the original movies, are some of my favorites. I still think this movie doesn't quite live up to the originals. However, it was a really good take on what would happen kind of at the end of Jurassic Park as we know it, which is now Jurassic World, because it almost felt like a farewell movie. I don't know if you noticed that as much, Devin, but coming from someone who I've watched all the Jurassic Park movies and I've seen the stories, and I wasn't surprised. You know, I thought it kind of told the story that it was meant to tell. There wasn't anything that I was shocked about, but I also thought it was really cool to see the mutant dinosaurs like D-Rex and all the other dinosaurs that kind of pop up in the movie. And it was kind of scary, too, to think about what could happen on planet Earth if we brought back the dinosaurs.
Now, after watching Jurassic World Rebirth, I went back and rewatched two of my favorites, Jurassic Park and Jurassic World, which I would put on the same rating. I both would give them over a 9 out of 10, and after watching Jurassic World, the first one, I just think it was a significantly better movie, so we are in a little bit of a disagreement because I did give it a 7, you gave it an 8. But the thing about this movie is that people are there for the dinosaurs, and no one really I feel like cares how great the storyline or the characters really are in these movies anymore. I feel like people want to see the dinosaurs, they want to see some cool kills, and I feel like if you are someone who just loves Jurassic movies, you still will love this movie.
I think it's a balance, I would say. It would be nice to have, you know, a really good storyline with lots of cool dinosaurs. And it's something where you can't go wrong showing as many dinosaurs as possible. And there's a good amount in this film. It was cool to see the new ones and then see like a throwback to the old ones. The T-Rex scene was absolutely incredible. And then the scene where the dinosaurs are swimming, like the Spinosaurus-style dinosaurs in the water, and then also the water-based dinosaur that was massive. That was like kind of going around the boat as well. It was just really cool to see that. And it was a throwback to the original movie scenes. And then there were a couple shorts even on YouTube that were produced when the Jurassic World movies were out. And it reminded me of some of those short films that they had released. There was one that they had put up on the YouTube channel for, I think it might have even been Jurassic World. And it was a scene where they were at a campsite and there was a dinosaur actually walking around. And the tense emotion you felt in the theater was the same in most of these movies. So it was just really cool to see and feel like that same, feeling like you were watching the original movies and also some of the new Jurassic World movies. And you can't go wrong just seeing dinosaurs. So
I do agree with you there. My problem with Jurassic World Rebirth is that they showed every single dinosaur that was in the movie in the trailers. Luckily, I didn't watch the trailers because after the movie, I don't think we both really looked too much at the trailers, but I remember we both were looking on the train back and we said these scenes were like all 90% of the dinosaur scenes.
I want to say there were a few that weren't in the trailer though.
90% I'd say.
There were a couple scenes though, like do you remember the city scene in the beginning? That was pretty cool. I didn't really see that much in the trailer. Maybe there was a trailer that was released that I haven't seen yet, so maybe it was in there. But there were some really cool scenes, and it was over 2 hours, so there were things that we did see that weren't in the trailer, but yeah, it did feel like a lot of the scenes that were really cool were definitely showcased for a few seconds. I'm a fan of actually only taking a couple scenes and then showing those in the trailer. Maybe your best scene you could show in the trailer, but then saving a few for when people go to the theater and they actually can watch them.
The big question about Jurassic World Rebirth, though, is it worth watching in theaters? Is it worth paying $15 to $20, some theaters even $25 to see this movie? Billy, what do you think?
Yes. I truly feel it is, and here's why. I think if you're going to spend $25, you are getting the most action-packed dinosaur scenes from the past literally year to 2 years in a theater experience. I honestly think this movie is a movie you should see in theaters versus buying it on Blu-ray or streaming it. I think that while I know Devin loves, a lot more action, I'm actually a fan of the storyline, and I'm a fan of really cool scenes, especially knowing that the majority of a lot of these scenes in this film were actually real scenes that were filmed on real locations with CGI, using more modern day techniques, but I truly feel that the sound effects and also the screen accurate props they were using, and also just the whole environment was just an exceptional experience to see in theaters specifically. How about you, Devin?
I think Jurassic World Rebirth is a movie that needs to be seen in theaters, although I did think it was on par with the rest of the Jurassic World movies and was a little bit average. It is the best action that I've seen in a few years in the Jurassic World movies. There is a lot of dinosaurs, there is a lot of suspense. My big takeaway from it, though, is that it did not take as much risks as I liked as in other movies. I love that we got to speak with Jurassic World Rebirth actor Bachir Sylvain at the after party at the New York City premiere. He plays the role of Leclerc, and he did tell us that all of these scenes, or a majority of the scenes that were in the jungle where they were walking through the water and there was animals moving around them, these were real scenes shot in Thailand and other places around the world, and the actors were actually terrified.
It was incredible to meet Bachir at the after party for Jurassic World Rebirth. We got a chance to ask questions and learned some interesting facts about this film, especially where it was recorded, and then also how there were real props and animals and locations that were used in the making of this film.
Did you think Jurassic World Rebirth was a movie that you have never seen before?
I thought the movie was a similar story to what I've seen before. I thought it was unique in the sense that we went to an island and got to see what the aftermath was of previous films. But I did think that I kind of knew what was going to happen. It was kind of like a 1, 2, 3 step process for this film, because the cast was collecting the samples to create a cure for essentially a disease. And I thought it was cool, and it was fun.
Now, I thought the movie Jurassic World Rebirth followed a similar path to other movies that I've seen, such as the pharmaceutical companies being evil. Everyone's seen that. We've seen a lot of movies like that, and we've also seen a lot of movies where they've gone back onto islands or gone to islands and discovered a bunch of different animals. So in my opinion, it wasn't as unique as I hoped it was, and that's why I gave it a 7, because it was just above average in my opinion, or just below average. Now, the best part about Jurassic World Rebirth is the dinosaurs. So, Billy, what were your top 3 dinosaurs in the movie?
That's a great question, Devin. My third favorite would have to be the Titanosaurus. I thought the scene with all the Titanosaurus in the distance with the mountains and also the greenery and everything was just incredible. And I would then have to say my other favorite would be Dilophosaurus, just because that was a very funny dinosaur, especially because it appeared out of nowhere and then it kind of like opens up like this and just kind of like is super creepy. And then I would also say the Tyrannosaurus Rex was my number 1 for favorite dinosaur, and it's just an incredible dinosaur. The suspense was there in this film, and it was just brought me back to being a kid and watching the original Jurassic Park movie. So super exciting and awesome dinosaurs.
Now, my top 3 dinosaurs from the movie, at number 3, I'm going with the Mutodons. I thought these were extremely creepy. They were in the gas station towards the end of the movie. They were going all through the tunnels, and these were just ones that I'm not sure if we've seen before, but they were basically a pterosaur raptor hybrid, and they could fly, and they're basically a raptor, and they were just absolutely terrifying. At number 2, I'm going at the Mosasaurus. Those scenes in the water with them going around, and I believe with the Spinosaurus as well, so those both will be at number 2 for me. But those water dinosaurs made some of the best scenes in the movie. And at number 1, you may think I'm going to go with the D-Rex. I wasn't a major fan of the D-Rex. I thought it was very underwhelming. I thought that it wasn't built up like the T-Rex in other movies. It was super cool and a crazy hybrid. But at number 1, I'm going the T-Rex. The T-Rex was in the movie for, I think, about 10 to 15 minutes, but it had an iconic scene with the water raft, and T-Rex is always going to be number 1 for me. Now, the D-Rex in the movie I found to be extremely underwhelming, like the T-Rex in other movies and the Indominus Rex in Jurassic World. These were built up to be insane killers, something that you could not stop whatsoever, but it was stopped with a flare in the end. Did you find it to be underwhelming? Because I know that you put the T-Rex as your number 1 and not the D-Rex.
I thought the flare made sense. I thought the flare was cool. It would have been interesting if there were other people to support on the island. I know they originally said that there was the remains of a village or a place. So I thought it was, it was cool. It was to be expected, in my opinion, though.
But not as strong as the T-Rex, you would say.
The D-Rex?
Yes.
Oh, I think the D-Rex was a little bit more powerful. Definitely had
powerful, but I think that they could have introduced it better, or they could. Well, the introduction was cool in the beginning, but I think that they could have made it seem a little bit more dangerous and gave it more screen time, like the T-Rex in the other movies. Wouldn't you agree with that?
I would say that it's a different type of dinosaur because it was a mutant, so it has a combination of, it seemed like a few dinosaurs at least. It reminded me of a Rancor in Star Wars. I don't know if you know what that creature is.
It actually did look a lot like the Rancor from Star Wars.
It reminded me of that when I saw it, and I don't know, it would have been interesting if like the D-Rex was like twice or 3 times the size of the T-Rex or something. Like that would have just been like, wow, I would have been shocked. But it was a cool idea. I noticed that one of the movie posters actually had the D-Rex when we were at the premiere, so different places when we went to the actual premiere, different places actually had different types of movie posters that was created, and we got a chance actually to meet the designer when we were at the New York premiere, and it was really cool to see.
Now, they talked about the D-Rex a lot, but did they really mention, correct me if I'm wrong, did they really mention what exactly the different mutations were inside of that D-Rex? Because I don't remember them doing that.
I don't remember that either. We'll have to look it up.
Yeah, because in the Indominus Rex from Jurassic World, they talked about how it could camouflage, how it had raptor inside of him, but the D-Rex, they didn't really explain much at all, and I thought that maybe it would fly, maybe it would swim, but it really didn't do that much, and that's why I was very disappointed with it in the end. Now, to end this video, we're going to be talking about the premiere. Billy and I were lucky enough to go to the Jurassic World Rebirth premiere in New York City, thanks to Universal Pictures, and we had an incredible time, so let's talk about our experience.
It was the only Jurassic World red carpet that I have been on, and it was absolutely impressive. When I walked onto the carpet, Devin was right there, and there was like an associate who was taking Devin's information and going to be walking him through the area, and it was just really cool. I was starstruck to basically see all of the dinosaur models all set up, and I got a chance to meet some awesome creators as well, and even cast from the movie, which was really cool.
I cover a lot of movie premieres for my social medias, and this was by far the most in-depth carpet theme. They had the models all over, and they may have been models that they even use in the movie, we're not even sure, but they had full Jurassic World Rebirth branding all over. They had built it to look like a gate. You can see on the screen right here, there was like a gate to enter the carpet, and this was the same place that you would enter the after party later on, and everything was just so themed. They had water, because it was, I believe it was at Lincoln Plaza, and there was like a little pool there in the middle. It's like a park in New York City, and they filled it up with basically floaties that look like the dinosaurs and full-on models, and it was just incredible. Here's some photos and video from the scene right here. We were on the carpet, and we got to even meet one of the actors like we talked about earlier on in the video, and at the after party we actually got to go and basically walk the carpet again, but then they redesigned it to basically be somewhere where we could be eating and drinking, and it was just an incredible time. What did you think of the after party?
The after party was really neat. I hadn't been to an after party for a feature film before, and when you walked in, there was really tight security, and then once you got through and you handed your ticket over, you walked up a flight of stairs, which you can see right here, and then there was this arch, and it was Jurassic World, and it was just absolutely breathtaking to walk to the after party and then see all these people that were, cast members and actors and executives and producers. And
I remember we were starving at the after party, and we just thought that there was an area for food, so we went inside, and next thing you know, we're next to Scarlett Johansson, Jonathan Bailey's walking right past me, Mahershala Ali, Rupert, and everyone was there from the movie, and we didn't ask for any photos, but we just kind of respected their space, and it was just crazy because I love Jonathan Bailey from, of course, Wicked, and he plays Fiyero, and it was just an incredible time, and one of my favorite parts was just meeting with my other creator friends, and Billy got to meet a lot of people who I've met in the industry, and we just had such an incredible time, so thanks to Universal Pictures for this experience. One more thing we forgot to talk about is Delores in Jurassic World Rebirth is one of the cutest dinosaurs I've seen in any movie. She was even at the after party. Here's a photo of her right here. They had a handler bringing her around. People were trying to feed her food and drinks. He wouldn't allow it. What did you think about Delores in the movie? Because she was one of the bright spots for me.
Yeah, I thought Delores was a bright spot in the film, and I feel like it would have been cool to have other dinosaurs that were more like similar personality, and the cast could have interacted with even in the film, because I thought while there were these scary giant dinosaurs like the T-Rex, the D-Rex, Velociraptors, and Spinosaurus, like it was really cool to have a dinosaur that you could also relate to, and just like a fun dinosaur that was kind of just really cool to have a part of the film and wasn't as scary as all of the other dinosaurs. So I thought it was fun, and it was really nice to see Delores at the after party.
Here's a spoiler if you haven't seen the movie yet, but I thought that Delores was going to be the son or daughter of the D-Rex, because they looked extremely similar, didn't they?
I mean, yes and no.
Yeah, I thought that couldn't happen.
I thought that would have been a really cool premise, especially if, like, maybe Dolores' DNA was also in the D-Rex. I thought that could have been really cool if the same DNA for Dolores' species was in the D-Rex, because that could have meant that they were related. That would have been really funny if they realized they were friends, and it would have just made for a really cool laugh. Do you feel like there will be another Jurassic World movie after this, or do you feel like this is the end of the series as we know it?
Now, I think we need an R-rated Jurassic World movie. I would love a movie that takes a lot more risk. I understand they can't do it because it is a billion-dollar franchise and it is PG-13, so you would lose a lot of that revenue and audience. But I think
what about families, though, I have to say? Like, because that's one thing that I like about Jurassic Park. It really is a family movie, even though it's scary. Like, I was able to watch it, and, when I was a kid, and it was the scariest movie I'd ever seen at the time. Why do you feel like we need to go, in a different direction with these films? I actually disagree with that.
I think fans want to see more violence, more dinosaur kills.
I would disagree. I think we should have a better story. We should talk more with the paleontologists and have more of a dialogue, and that's just my personal opinion.
There are people and YouTube channels that cover the kill counts in horror movies, and people love this. So if we had a Jurassic World movie where there was 35 kills, everyone would be going nuts. You may not be making as much money, maybe lower the budget a little if you don't think you're going to make as much with the families, but an R-rated Jurassic movie would absolutely break the internet, in my opinion.
I would completely disagree with that, and I do feel like it's fun to go to the theme parks and have a family-friendly experience. So that is my personal opinion, but I understand where your opinion is as well, Devin. So that's great to have that, to have that on the podcast.
Well, thank you all for joining us today for the Did You Know Movies show with Devin and Billy. Thanks for joining me, Billy. Anything else to say to the audience?
Thanks for having me on the show, and let us know your thoughts on this film.
Awesome. This is Life of Devin, T, and Billy, signing out.